Hi everyone, Dr. Mimi here from the Skin Reel, and today I'm going to be talking about something that I am seeing just blowing up TikTok and social media, and that is the use of silicone for the treatment of wrinkles and silicone patches. And this is not something that is new to dermatologists and new to skincare, but it seems to have really taken off. And I know one company I've seen a lot of called Frownies. They are marketing themselves as an alternative to neuromodulators like Botox and Xeomin and Dysport and Daxxify and things like that. And I have to say, when you see the pictures that they are posting, they look pretty incredible when people take off these silicone patches that they've slept in overnight. The skin looks really good. And I have to say, their wrinkles are minimized for sure. So I want to kind of break down what these are. Are silicone patches really this magical new treatment for wrinkles, or is it just hype? So I am so glad you're joining me today to break down silicone patches and where I think they're effective and where I think they're probably just a really good marketing gimmick. So I recently was interviewed by a reporter to talk about silicone patches and whether I find that they are helpful or useful for wrinkles and stretch marks and whether I recommend them to patients. So what is silicone? What are these silicone patches? As dermatologists, we have actually been using and recommending silicone and silicone patches for a while now. And I will say in my practice as a Mohs surgeon, a dermatologic surgeon, I will recommend silicone patches post-operatively for scars. Now, I don't recommend these universally, and I don't really recommend the silicone gel. I really like the silicone patches for a number of reasons. And there actually is data to support their use, which again, I really don't like gimmicks and hype. I really want to see the data and science behind stuff before I'm going to recommend my patients spend the time and money using them. But silicone patches have actually been shown to be quite effective for different types of scars. And that's because silicone patches work in a number of ways. The silicone patch, you buy it over the counter or at your doctor's office. It has an adhesive backing that you then place over the scar, and sometimes you will cut it to shape depending on what size your scar is. So you stick it onto the scar and make sure your skin is clean and free of any makeup or oils so that it will stick and adhere nicely. And the silicone patch works in a number of ways. First of all, it's forming an occlusive barrier over the scar. And that is going to keep the scar hydrated. And it's also going to prevent transepidermal water loss. And this is critical for scar healing because when the scar becomes dehydrated or loses moisture, that can actually stimulate fibroblast in our skin, which fibroblast build collagen, but not the collagen you're thinking that makes your skin youthful and plump and all that. This is the type of collagen that's laid down with scars. And when you have increased collagen in a scar, that's how you get something called a hypertrophic or a thickened scar. So again, having that occlusive barrier preventing that transepidermal water loss, it's going to help prevent that scar from thickening and becoming potentially hypertrophic or even keloidal, which is when the type of collagen just overgrows the original scar. Now, I don't use this universally on every scar because a lot of times I am recommending, I would say 99.9% of the time, I'm recommending an occlusive ointment like petrolatum, Vaseline, Aquaphor, something like that over the scar, again, to hold in the moisture and to prevent bacteria from getting into the scar. So a lot of times simply doing that for most scars is effective and it saves the patient an extra step and an extra expense. But there are some areas that tend to thicken And I find that a silicone patch is a great way to minimize this, especially women on the upper chest. I find these scars can get thicker and need a little more TLC. So this is a great area for someone who's motivated to go ahead and start applying a silicone patch on it after the stitches have dissolved, which tends to be that first week. Then they can go ahead and apply that silicone patch. It also is a great way to prevent UV damage from the sun hitting that scar, which can also make the scar slower to heal. Now, these silicone patches, they are reusable, which I like because I think that helps with being cost effective. But you do have to wear them for ideally 12 hours a day. So you're going to be wearing this at least half the day. Then you can take it off, let the skin breathe and clean it, wash the adhesive backing, and then reuse it again. And this isn't a quick fix. You have to use it for several months for acute scars, so scars that are newer. But for more chronic scars, you may be using this for months at a time, sometimes even 6 months. And I like to just mention to my patients, this is just one way to help mitigate or minimize thickened scars. It's not the only way, but for someone really motivated for their scar, someone who maybe has a history of getting thicker scars, or someone with a scar in an area that tends to become thicker, I do think that silicone patches do help. And that's because they are providing an occlusive barrier. They are minimizing that transepidermal water loss, and they are decreasing the chance of fibroblast hyperactivity, which can lead to those thickened scars that you can see. So then let's kind of pivot to how do these silicone patches work for treating wrinkles or treating stretch marks? And we'll start with the wrinkles because that's what I'm seeing all over the internet. You're seeing these patches that people are putting on their foreheads or they're putting on their necks or putting around their eyes. And again, they're using that adhesive backing. They're putting it on clean skin, free of oil and makeup. And then they are sleeping in it. And when they wake up in the morning, their skin looks plump, it looks hydrated, and they do not have those etched in lines like they had the night before. And those results are real. That's not a gimmick or a filter that they're using. You actually do have better looking skin when you wake up in the morning. And that's because of all those things that I mentioned earlier that we use with scars. It is decreasing the transepidermal water loss. So the skin is plumper, it's more hydrated. And when your skin is plump and hydrated, what happens to those fine lines and creping that you see? They disappear, right? It's like a balloon that's been deflated a little bit. You plump it back up again, and those lines seem to disappear. So do these silicone patches work for minimizing that crepiness and those etched in lines? Well, yes, it is. It's hydrating the skin and it's plumping it up. Now, is this the only way to go about doing that? Of course not. And do I think there are potentially better ways to do it? Yes, absolutely. The thing with these patches is, yes, they are very safe, but they only work when you do it. So you are going to have to basically commit to sleeping in these silicone patches all over your face or your neck or wherever pretty much nightly for the rest of your life. Now, if you're fine with that, then go for it. But I do see people getting allergic reactions or at a minimum irritation from that adhesive backing that they use. And that's because anytime putting tape on your skin day in and day out is going to cause irritation to most people's skin. So just be aware of that. If you're using it on a consistent basis, you may develop irritation or an allergy to that adhesive. So you want to make sure that, especially if you have sensitive skin or a latex allergy, you are using a silicone patch that either is latex free, and you want to just make sure you are giving your skin some time to breathe and not using it every day, all night for the rest of your life. Because again, you will get irritation from that adhesive on your skin. I think they are a relatively cost-effective way to minimize fine lines because, again, you can reuse these, but I also think there are other options that are more cost-effective. Number one, if you really are worried about anti-aging and wrinkle formation, your best bet is to sun protect. And we say this all the time as dermatologists. It is number 1, 2, and 3. So let's say you're already doing that and you want to do something extra. I think a vitamin A derivative is so crucial in someone's skincare regimen if they are looking to minimize wrinkles. And I think this is ultimately more effective than these silicone patches because you just apply a pea-size amount on your whole skin or neck or wherever you're treating. And that is something that you can use safely and very cost effectively for the rest of your life, as long as you're not pregnant, right? And I find that you will get more bang for your buck doing that. And then you don't have to sleep in these silicone patches all the time. I would worry about using a vitamin A derivative and then putting these silicone patches on your skin. I think they're not going to stick as well. And again, you may get more irritation from the retinoid or the retinol on the skin plus the adhesive backing. So if you had to choose between one of those two, I would definitely recommend the retinol or the retinoid. There is so much great data out there showing how it improves cell turnover, it unclogs pores, and it stimulates your collagen. And I just haven't seen those results replicated for silicone patches for facial wrinkles. The other thing about these silicone patches is that they are occlusive, which is one of the benefits of using them in scars. However, if you're using this over a significant portion of your face all the time, if you are someone who is prone to acne, you may find that you are going to get some acne flares because it is so occlusive. Same kind of deal with slugging, right? You are occluding the skin with a thick ointment like petrolatum, Vaseline, Aquaphor. And when you do that, if you do it on a large amount of skin or you're prone to acne, you can get breakouts from clogging pores. So that is another thing I'm seeing with these silicone patches because they are occlusive, which is how they work. But for some people, that can cause breakouts. So again, I really like a tretinoin, a retinoid, retinol instead, because that is going to help with facial lines and wrinkles. And it's actually going to also help with breakouts instead of cause them. These silicone patches are also not going to work on what we call dynamic rhytides or dynamic wrinkles. And these are the wrinkles that develop when you raise your eyebrows or your scowl because you're angry, or you smile really big and you can get them around the eyes. These silicone patches are mostly going to help with wrinkles at rest or that crepiness at rest. And yes, it does work because it's hydrating your skin. It's plumping up your skin, but it's going to do nothing for those wrinkles that develop when you're making those expressions. And when you're making those expressions day in and day out, year after year, that is what can cause those etched in lines. So if you are worried about the scowl or your 11s, the best bet is to kind of prevent that from happening in the first place by doing a little neuromodulator in that area so that you aren't even developing those lines to start with. So just remember, these silicone patches, they work with hydration, but they're really not going to prevent those lines from becoming etched in when you make your facial expressions. If you are thinking about trying these silicone patches for wrinkles, then go for it. Give it a try and see how you like it. I think you want to make sure you are looking for medical grade silicone. And if you have sensitive skin, you may want to start with a small area just to make sure you don't have any irritation from the adhesive backing. I find that some good alternatives to these silicone patches would be making sure you are using a moisturizer with perhaps some silicone in it, known as dimethicone, or using a moisturizer with a hyaluronic acid. Hyaluronic acid is a great way to plump the skin, and it's in a lot of moisturizers. And I find that dabbing on a little extra moisturizer around your eyes or anywhere that your skin tends to get dry can be a great way to plump the skin as well. And then you don't have to sleep in those products for 8 hours plus a night. You could also try slugging if you find you're getting some creping around your eyes. Then you could dab a little Vaseline or Aquaphor. Again, you don't need a lot, just put it around that thin, delicate eyelid skin, sleep in it, wash it off in the morning. And again, I think that is a great way and very cost effective way to minimize the fine lines and creping that can develop around the eyes. And of course, make sure you're wearing a sunscreen, make sure you're wearing a hat. You could use these silicone patches for the rest of your life, but if you're not sun protecting, you are really not making any steps ahead in the anti-aging process, because the powerful UV radiation from the sun is really negating any of the benefits you would see from any of the treatment regimens I've discussed. So that's got to be first and foremost in your treatment regimen. Now, stretch marks, that's a different story. I find that sometimes it's trial and error with stretch marks, but again, we do know that using a retinol or retinoid, especially to early stretch marks, can really help increase collagen and minimize stretch marks. We also know that stretch marks will fade with time. So a very pink, dark stretch mark in the beginning with time on its own will slowly fade. But using a tretinoin, a retinol, a retinoid early on can help improve that. So yes, if you find you do have some stretch marks, especially early on, you may want to try these silicone patches on and see if they help. Again, make sure you let your skin have time to breathe, and just know that you have to wear them for ideally 12 hours a day for several months to really see the benefit. And I would also recommend using some other modalities like a vitamin A derivative like tretinoin or retinol, because we know that that can be beneficial for stretch marks. And of course, talk to your board certified dermatologist. This is what we do. We are skin experts. We take care of the skin day in, day out. And your dermatologist can probably give you some really good pearls on what might be best for your specific skincare needs and your treatment goals. So I don't have a problem with trying these silicone patches, but just be aware of what they can and can't accomplish. It is temporary, and the benefits with wrinkles is mostly due to increasing the hydration in the skin by preventing transepidermal water loss. And we can do this in a number of ways. But if you like wearing them at night to sleep and you think your skin looks great in the morning, then go for it. I have no problem with that. And I definitely like it for scars. However, I don't think they're universally necessary for every single scar. But there are some where I see benefit, and I really do recommend that my patients use it. Don't just follow every skincare trend out there. Make sure it fits your skincare needs and treatment goals. All right. I look forward to seeing you guys next week.